Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see so many people here. I personally like to think that you are all here at 9 o'clock because you skipped the attendee party last night to make it on time here. Excellent. We've got some good stuff up and coming on governing Azure subscriptions with a few new tools and one tool that was earlier in preview, now it's generally available. My name is Jussi Roine. And as you can probably tell by my accent, I'm not local. And the weather is a bit challenging to me because I'm based out of Helsinki, Finland. So when I'm indoors here, I'm cold. And when I'm outdoors, it's too hot for me. I start melting away. So I've got a few goals for the next 45 minutes. I want all of my demos to work. I did sacrifice a couple of virtual machines just for you and one Azure subscription as well because it got locked down because I did two fancy policies in there. But the one I'm using today should work. And the other aim or goal for me really is that you all learn to pronounce my first name correctly. I've heard Josie, Jusuf, Jesse so far. I'm good with all of those. So you just go with any version you like. Yes, perfect. Thank you. So let's get started with the need for governance. Back in the day, before we had Azure, we of course had the on-premises data centers, and we all loved hugging the servers and putting in the cables and watching the lights blink. And then when we started to get cloud-based services such as Azure, I would visit my customers and they would be so excited. We started using Azure. Everything is so quick and agile now, and nobody's stopping us on what we want to do. Just look at this. And I would go there. They would have maybe 275 resource groups in Azure, and the names would be Demo 1, Test, Do Not Delete, Test 5, the final test. Nobody knew what was happening with those. So it was the same as back in the day when you would visit a customer whose business was not in IT, but their data center needed to be built, and it was full of cables, full of servers. Nobody knew what they were doing. So today, we've got plenty of tools for governing Azure on what happens in Azure. I find some companies choosing to only have one administrator who actually provisions everything in Azure and not allowing anybody else to do anything. The sad thing about that is that then you only have this one person who can do everything, and he needs to do 3 shifts every day, so 24 hours at the office just provisioning and testing and checking on stuff. So the tools we have for the basic sort of governance, of course, start with the accounts. What sort of accounts do we give? I quite often see people who are not that well in the know on what Azure accounts can do. They simply invite Microsoft account-based identities to Azure, grant them the global admin or the owner of the subscription, and you're good to go. And that will get messy really quickly. Subscriptions, this is a topic often that we need to visit. Do we need one subscription? Do we need multiple subscriptions? And the old thinking has always been that we need one subscription, just like back in the NT4 days when we only needed one domain, everything is good there, and if something breaks, everything breaks. So these days, you typically want to divide your infrastructure, your services in Azure to maybe multiple subscriptions. I've had discussions with companies who say, we want to start with 250 subscriptions. And I ask, why do you need 250 subscriptions? Well, we need 250 admins, and every admin needs their own. Okay, that's one approach. But maybe you would like to start with 1 or 2 or 5, depending on what you're actually building and how you plan on using Azure. Role-based access control has been there for quite some time. Typically, you're good with the built-in roles. So instead of everybody being an admin or maybe a guest, you have some leverage in between. I see companies building custom roles, not that often, because it's really hard to keep track of who has access where and what and how. Resource groups and tags and logs, we'll look into those in a little while when we get to the actual tooling. And then policies, which is one of the main topics for this talk. With policies, we can use the built-in policies to govern what our admins, what our developers, what our users who have access to our Azure subscriptions, what can they actually do and what they shouldn't be doing. The policy is an allow deny based token. You can add one or more policies, and the idea is that if the built-in policies are not good enough for you, you start building your custom policies. And just like in here, I would start with the built-in policies. Otherwise, it will once again get really messy. If anybody here has been administrating Active Directories back in the day with GPOs, group policy objects, the policy is a bit the same. It has inheritance, so you define the policy at some level, and it inherits all the settings beneath whatever is beneath that level where you set the policy. And then auditing and monitoring, of course, with Azure Monitor. So the tooling is more or less there, but by default, none of these settings or none of these features are enabled. So you need to configure those. The earlier you get to configuring those, the better off you will be. But if you already run several workloads in Azure, it's fine. You can still start using the tooling. So for auditing and monitoring, the tools. Azure Monitor, which has been expanding quite rapidly. Even this week, we got some new announcements for those. I'll have a look on those in a sec. And then Application Insights, which traditionally has been a tool for developers. Developers would enable App Insights, and they would get data from the backend of their software. So if they were running a website on Azure App Service, they would enable Application Insight in there, and then if something fails within their code, Application Insight would give you what's really happening beneath the services and how do we actually fix this. And you can have automated tasks and actions in Application Insight. But that's how it was initially marketed. It's for developers. But I see it's much more useful for IT pros as well, and for admins who need to govern Azure subscriptions, because you get a lot of information out of App Insight on how things are working and how people are using those tools. Azure Advisor, it's a free tool, and it gives you advices on how you should better configure your Azure subscriptions. And the idea is that it gets signals from Azure Security Center, giving you security advice, but it also gives you advice on performance, also on reliability, and it's up to you really to follow those advices or simply discard them and say, I know better than some built-in AI can recommend things to me. Log Analytics, that's always been a bit of a problem in understanding what Log Analytics is, because it's traditionally been a separate service. Then it was partially connected with Operations Management Suite, which has a separate portal. But now it's part of Azure Monitor. So Log Analytics itself is best accessible from Azure Monitor as of today. And finally, if you run any sort of management solution in on-premises, such as System Center Operations Manager, you can offload a lot of this back to your SCOM installation, or you can push your log and data from SCOM or something similar back to Azure and keep on using these tools as well. So with Azure Monitor, this is accessible from the portal. I'll show that to you in a bit. And it's really about two things. One is that you can have a look on something ad hoc. You might have a virtual machine, you might have a SQL database that is not behaving correctly, or you suspect there's some sort of problem with it. You simply select that resource in Azure Monitor, and you select the type of counters you'd like to follow up on that, and that's that. It's exactly the same as you would have on a Windows server or a Windows workstation with Performance Monitor that you can run, and that's been there for about 20 years. But you can also create alerts based on those metrics. So once you find a good metric, let's say you provision a new virtual machine and you want to have a metric that the system drive does not fill up. You simply create a metric, apply an alert on that, and based on the alert, you can have automated tasks to clean up the disk, or you can simply do what everybody else does, send an email to somebody who doesn't want to read the alert emails and who needs to act on those. What's new for Azure Monitor this week? We get smart groups, which consolidates. If you get a lot of alerts from different locations, it consolidates those into a single group automatically, meaning that if you have multiple services acting or behaving with such problems that they could be grouped together, you can fire off a single alert instead of firing off 27 different alerts, and thus the person getting the 27 emails doesn't really know where to start with. But now they will only get one email or one activity or one task. You could spin up a PowerShell task maybe to fix it if you know what might be the problem automatically, or then you will connect this with a ticketing system like ServiceNow that would then enable you to run more advanced processes if that works better for you. The other one, metric alerts for logs that I mentioned, it's now generally available starting this week. It was in preview before. I don't know how you treat preview and GA type of services. I typically start using preview services as early as possible to see how they actually work. And when we get the GA, which means we also get support, there's proper documentation in place, then I know this is something I can now use more widely with my customers and in production environments as well. Application insights that I mentioned. This provides an awful lot of information. It's a bit overwhelming because you get so much data. Last night, before the attendee party, I was having dinner nearby at one of the restaurants. And as is a tradition, they have a TV there. I don't know why, but it's on, and there's football. I think it's football, or is it American football? Football, anyways. The sports that the ball is not round. And somebody was explaining that that's an undertake or overtake or touchdown or something else. I know nothing about sports. And it was a bit overwhelming to me because there were so many moving bits and statistics and people giving you their opinion on how things should go and what really happened here. The same goes for Application Insight. You open Application Insight for the first time, there's about 2,000 different buttons that you can click, and you're not really sure how should you get started with this. The easiest way to get started with Application Insight is that when you provision a new service, they typically have an option, would you like us to automatically enable App Insight for you? You will check that, press next, and you're good. Later on, when you need to find out what App Insight is really doing for you, you can then go to the service, and there's a link to the App Insight that was provisioned for you. And it has the predefined metrics, the predefined log entries for you that you can start actually using. So on the left, you can see one of the services that I provisioned this week for a demo I did on Tuesday on using bots with a bit of AI in the backend. And I provisioned App Insight when I provisioned the bots. And with App Insight, it's now telling me how many instances do I have with the bots, how many calls do I get to the APIs of the bot, and is something failing in any of these. The other two are recommendations for me on you should maybe fix this, you should maybe fix that, and we saw these type of problems. And you can see the secure score impact, which is more security related, even though we are not really asking security advice. So this comes part from Security Center as well as Azure Advisor. And just like in Azure Monitor, you can create your custom metrics, custom statistics in here, bundle them all together, or you can create a new dashboard in Azure Portal and have a custom view on everything that is important for you. What I typically like to do with my implementations is that I create custom dashboards that look nice, that have the relevant information that I need to see, and then I prop a TV at a customer's cafe or a place where they get coffee and tea near the cubicles, and then they can, with one peek, they can actually see what's happening with the services. Excuse me. Azure Advisor, this is probably the easiest to use because there's not that much things you can actually configure here. You'll see the high availability, which mostly relates to virtual machines. Do you have availability sets? Do you have replication for your databases? Then you get security, of course, from Security Center, and performance on different things that you might not have configured yet. As an example, I do have one recommendation on some leftover blobs in Azure storage that I should maybe clean up. This is not really, the performance is not cost related, it's more performance related when we start getting new services. And the last one is, of course, cost. So typically when you want to govern Azure subscriptions, Many times you also want to understand what happens with the cost. Are we paying too much? And Log Analytics, which is now part of Azure Monitor, it collects telemetry from all of your services, be it virtual machine, be it an Azure SQL database, be it a website or an app service, be it an Azure Functions underneath app service as a serverless solution. Log Analytics collects everything together, and then we can decide what to do with the logs from here. Typically, I see in environments with high security, I see that we want to offload the logs to a separate system. It might be something in on-prem, or it might be something that we run in a different subscription or a different cloud provider. But there's also a query engine within Log Analytics, meaning that all the logs we can collect from all the services that we have, including possibly on-premises services, we can then query against those, and we can have alerts and tasks and actions based on those alerts against these logs. With Log Analytics, we get a separate query engine with a separate query language that we can use. What I typically do, I use the predefined queries unless it's absolutely necessary to build my custom queries for something really specific. You can see in the pictures, it also gives you a nice overview on what's happening with the services. The lower picture has a test virtual machine that's running about 20 processes, and Log Analytics is able to analyze how is this virtual machine talking to different services and which ports and what sort of traffic is occurring inbound and outbound from that VM. Alrighty, so let's have a demo. And for that to happen, what I need to do, I need to switch this. This is always the most exciting part. And we've got a blue screen. Luckily, there's a thing in Finnish language, when you yell loud enough at the PC, you can probably get it working. It's a hidden Windows 10 feature. But I'll avoid the yelling. I'll just use my mantra, which is, älä käyttää, käy niin kuin Kälviällä. Let's see. No, not working. I should be okay. There we go. Alrighty, so I've got my Azure subscription here. I've got a couple of subscriptions. You can see the lower one with the cost is a little overrun with the built-in budget. I had 130 euro, which I like to think is about $25,000 because it looks more promising. And I ran over, and I've got a set limit. I needed to release that early this week. And then I've got a bunch of services in here that I frequently use, so I just pinned those on the dashboard. So we'll start with Azure Monitor first. And Microsoft has been tweaking with the interface of Azure Monitor quite frequently. So I feel that if 2 weeks goes by that I don't open this, something happens. There's 5 new buttons and 5 new recommendations I should be doing. So we'll start with the metrics. And I hope the font size, yes, it should be good enough. So I get to select the subscription first. And I do have one subscription resource group that I want to use. I've got a lot of services in there because this is one of the infamous demo resource group do not delete, but not in use really. So just delete if you don't need it. And I'll select virtual machine from here. And I've got that one virtual machine running in here. Then I get to select the metric. And this virtual machine is based on the burstable class, the B virtual machines, which means it is ticking CPU credits for me. And if I need to overload it a bit, I can use those credits later on, as long as I don't reboot the VM. So let's see. Credits consumed on average, it's looking quite good. I can add a separate metric, and it automatically selects the same resource for me, which is nice. So credits remaining, we can see that I've got about 220 credits remaining, which is quite good because I'm not using the VM that much. And if I'm happy with this, I can pin this in my dashboard. And when we scroll to the far right, we can see that here we go. So this is the way how I can use Azure Monitors to start building my custom dashboards. And you can, of course, create new dashboards, upload, download, edit, and share those same dashboards with other people. So going back here, I want to have a look at the logs. So this is now the log analytics part. So even if I'm in Azure Monitor, I'm actually in Log Analytics now, and you can see I'm actually using a separate service. So this is the Log Analytics workspace that I'm using. And there's a couple of built-in queries that I can use based on heartbeat, performance, usage. And I can see list all reporting computers in the last hour. Let's run this. And it's going to all of the logs that I have in Log Analytics in that workspace. And from the filtering, I can actually see that it found 59 entries for my virtual machine, and I can drill down on this. But as you can see, the purpose of Log Analytics is not for me to go through all of the lines. That often happened back in the day when somebody would complain that our Active Directory domain controller is not working correctly. And somebody would say, I'll just go through all of the domain controllers manually and check all of the logs to find the problem. And they would have 27 domain controllers. And it would take 2 weeks to resolve it. So the same is here. I don't want to go these through line by line. I actually want to connect this with something else. And that something else might be a reporting interface like Power BI as part of Office 365, or it could be a separate system that analyzes these, and based on the type of alerts that we're getting, we might be acting based on those. Okay, so moving on forward to Application Insight. And with Application Insight, even though I provision those services automatically when I provision whatever services I'm doing, it provisions the Application Insight for me. I can go directly to all of those. So what I want to do, I had some spare time during summer, so I built a small website, which is called the aka.ms tracker. You guys probably see when you go on social media and somebody from Microsoft sends a message, maybe a tweet on Twitter, that, hey, here's the service or the documentation that you're looking for, and the address is aka.ms/something fun. And I kept thinking, it would be nice to have a directory of the aka.ms URLs. So I started tracking those with Azure. So I'm picking all of those from Twitter, storing those on Azure SQL, and then I'm doing small analytics based on that. I've been running it for about 4 months, and I think I have about 250,000 aka.ms URLs now. I don't know what I'm doing with those, but you can get the address here if you want to use this as well. So I've got the addresses in here. So this is simply a site that I need to use for testing Application Insight. So what I'm actually doing here, when I get the aka.ms address, let's say from a tweet, it's aka.ms/something. But what Twitter does, they replace that with their own t.co. So I need to pick up that, do an HTTPS call, and from the headers that I get back, I need to resolve it back to the aka.ms, then get the title of the website so that I know how it points back to the aka.ms alias. For that, I need to use serverless. So I'm using Azure Functions to do simple calls when I get the addresses. I resolve those, and I store those to the database. It's quite simple. But I still want to see what's happening with this. I need to govern that it doesn't overrun in terms of cost. I also need to diagnose if there's any sort of problems built in here. So I can see there's some failed requests in here. 7 yesterday, I think, or yesterday, 7. Not too many requests because it's been quite slow in that sense. And from here, I can see the application map. And it shows me 113 instances, about 11% of the calls that were initiated against this resolver, this Azure function, failed. And you recall when we started the demo, I said I did overrun a bit on my budget. That's the reason they failed. When I overrun my budget, Azure shuts down all of the services that I have. So this was running, then it shut down. The database is shut down and yanked away from the function, and it started failing before it was shut down as well. But this is what I can now use to actually understand what's happening. And I also get metrics from here, which uses Azure Monitor. So by now you're seeing that, hold on, I've got Azure Monitor, which is connected to Log Analytics. But then I have Application Insight, which is also using Azure Monitor. So Azure Monitor is really the tool that you should be using the most to understand what's happening within your subscriptions. Okay, switching back to slides. There's too many buttons here. Let's see if I was lucky. Yes. So let's move on to Azure governance tools. We had a look at the monitoring and auditing tools, and then moving a bit beyond these, we moved to Azure governance. So during Ignite this week, Microsoft announced Azure governance, which consists of Azure policy, singular policies that allow or deny certain actions or certain selections for Azure admins who can access your portal, your subscription. Then we have Azure cost management, because we need to understand what sort of cost we are incurring in our services. And this is based on the Cloudon acquisition Microsoft did, I think, last year. And it's slowly now being ported to be part of the Azure portal. Then we have Azure Blueprints, which was also announced this week in preview. And Blueprints allow us to create blueprints that consist of policies and roles and settings. And the last one is Azure Resource Graph, which allows us to query and see what sort of resources do we actually have in our Azure subscription. That's not my phone, I hope. So starting with Azure policy. Policies enforce certain rules. And typically how I see customers using this or asking to start using this is that we want to enforce that nobody will provision that one virtual machine that will cost the same as a large car would cost in Finland. So instead of getting a VM, we'd rather take the car. So we want to enforce that nobody is actually provisioning anything that goes beyond X amount of euro. Or we want to enforce geographical locations. We want to have all of the services in the West US data centers, for example. In Europe, it would be North Europe or West Europe. And there's a set of ready-made policies which are rather good. I always start with those because there's little need to go beyond those when you get started. You typically have the location restrictions, you have the restriction on certain SKUs in virtual machines and different services, and then you also want to have compliance based on those. If you do custom policies, they are simple JSON-based text files that you can add, but as I said, you can build quite complex policies quite quickly. So start easy with Azure policies and use the built-in ones first. And you can bundle together multiple policies. So instead of having 10 policies and applying each of those separately and getting 10 different reports, you can bundle them together to achieve a singular goal that would then give you the compliance view, that this bunch of policies is not complied in this and this service. Management groups, on the other hand, in Azure, that's generally available starting about 3 weeks ago. And management groups is a container technology, not a container, but a container holding your policies, holding your restrictions for different subscriptions, different resource groups, or different management groups. And you start with the tenant root group, which is built in. It will be created the first time you go to management group settings. And you need to allow yourself, as a global admin, you need to allow yourself permission to actually provision the tenant root group. I'll show that in a bit how it happens. Then you can create any number of subgroups. In this example, I've got one for development and testing and one for production, which is fairly simple to understand. But you could have these based on location, and then underneath those, you could have these based on the environment or the need or a policy that you would apply. And then you bind your subscriptions and or resource groups as part of these management groups. And they will have inheritance, meaning that if I set a set of policies in dev and test group here, in dev and test group management group, those policies will trickle down to whatever is underneath the dev and test group management group. And whoever is beneath those cannot bypass the policies and the settings that they have in place. And you will also have nesting in there. So if you set something in dev and test group and then you set something else, it will also trickle down throughout all of those groups that you will have. The Azure blueprints allow you to create predefined settings for your Azure admins and operators. We can bundle together policies, the built-in templates, roles, and we can also curate the marketplace. So we can disallow users on just going wild in the marketplace and pick and choosing everything they need. We can actually restrict what will be happening within our Azure subscription. So while the management group is a container for enforcing policies, Blueprint is a technology enforcing templates, policies, roles against the whole subscription. And with Blueprints, the earlier you get started, the better off you are. Because if you have a fresh Azure subscription, you can have the blueprint in place, and when your admin starts building solutions in there, you can already enforce what you need within the blueprint. The preview is available starting this week, so this is not generally available yet, but based on my testing during the summer, it works quite well already so far. So I would expect the GA to follow at some point in the near future. And Azure Resource Graph is quite new as well. And this allows us in the all resources view of the portal to, of course, list everything we have in place. But there's now a provider for PowerShell and Azure CLI. So we can query against Azure on what sort of resources do we have. And this is the engine that gives us back the results. And the reason for this is that we don't have to loop through everything. We can actually query the engine, and it's lightning fast when it's giving you stuff back. You can see in the screenshot, I'm using Azure CLI. I'm querying the graph, and the query is summarize count. How many resources do I have in total in this subscription? And it's about 222 in there. But if you like to use the all resources, that gives you the same, but you get paging. It's a bit slower. So if you need to do reporting on what assets do we have in place in this subscription, then you can use the Azure Resource Graph, which is much more faster for you to use. Alrighty, so let's have a look on this. And once again, let's do the button dance. Yes, everything seems to be working. So we'll start with Azure policies. Let me crank up the font size a bit. I have two subscriptions here that I can access to, with the same account as an admin. And I've got a few policies that I've set in here. One is the allowed locations, and it is non-compliant, meaning that I've set only one allowed location. I think it was West US or West US 2. That's the only one that's allowed. But I already had different resources provisioned to Azure that are not in West US, they're in West Europe. And I've got 124 non-compliant resources. So if I need to open this now, I can actually see that 8% of my resources are compliant, which is a bit sad, but it's really the reason that they are in different locations than they should be in. So we can use Azure policies to actually understand what do we have in place now, what's not compliant. It could be the location, it could be specific type of services, it could be a specific setting. One setting would be that I frequently get from customers is, what if we move to Azure, we set up virtual machines, somebody has a local admin privilege in there. What happens if they now go and configure the built-in Windows firewall to allow port 80 inbound? Wouldn't that, if we have the site-to-site VPN or ExpressRoute in place, wouldn't that actually mean that somebody might be able to hack the VM and from there hop on to our internal network? And I look at them and say, yeah, that's exactly what it means. So you need to somehow control it. And Azure policy is one way of doing it. Of course, you have different tools. You have group policies, or you can use Intune. But with Azure policy, we actually see that, okay, this is something that shouldn't be happening. So we've got the built-in policies in place, a few ones here. The allowed locations is a custom policy, but it's based on a built-in definition. And from here, I can see the definitions. And I've got 4 initiative definitions, and I've got the rest are policy definition. A policy definition is a built-in singular policy. Do not allow X, do not allow this, do not allow that. The initiative is a bundle of one or more policies. We want all of our virtual machines or all of our Azure SQL databases to conform to this set of policies. And we have 10 policies that we put in the initiative. Don't get too fancy with this, because once again, you will end up in a situation that you cannot access anything anymore, maybe not even the policy definitions to remove those. So you can also add a new policy definition if you want to build your own. And here's the JSON file for building it. You might need to go to docs.microsoft.com to actually look up what you need to have in there. But if you have a look on one of these, VMs shouldn't use, or VMs should use managed disks. So let's audit all VMs that are not using managed disks. So you can see from here, okay, this is how it works. It's actually checking stuff in here. So you can duplicate this, build your own from here. And from here, I can now go to assignments, and I can assign a single policy, or I can assign an initiative. So let me assign a single policy. The scope that I need to select, you can see from here that I've got the management group structure in place. I've got the tenant root group that I cannot modify. And underneath there, I've created Ignite test. So I'll select that one. And optionally, I can select a subscription as well. So I might have a single subscription in that management group. So this all applies to the whole of the subscription. Or I might now drill down to a single resource group. So I had the demo resource group, so I will only select that one. And what would the policy be? And these are the built-in definitions plus the custom definitions that we have in place in here. So let's see something from here, security related. Let's monitor unencrypted VM disks in Azure Security Center. So I'm adding this. It's assigned by myself. And I can create a managed identity in hopes that if this needs to be fixed, I will have some sort of way of accessing the VM if I don't know the local password through managed identities. So I'm creating that now. And based on my experience, it sometimes takes a little bit of time, but there we go. Monitor unencrypted VM disks, and we can go to compliance. Let me refresh that. Unencrypted disks, not started yet. So it typically takes about 10 minutes that it starts and it compiles through and starts checking what's happening with your policies. So this is really how you build the policies, typically starting with the built-in ones and then moving on. The next thing I need to show you is the management groups. And within management groups, you can see that I've got the Ignite test in here. And the interface is a bit different than what maybe you're used to in Azure Portal yourself. One would imagine that while I'm selected the Ignite test management group, I would actually configure it through the subscription, but I need to configure it through the details through here. And this allows me to now configure what happens in the management group and also what sort of policies will apply to this management group. And in here, if I go back in here, I can add sub-management groups in here. I can also add sub-subscriptions in here as well. So going back to the policies, I can now use the management groups that I create in here. And in here, I bind the subscriptions and or multiple subscriptions as part of this management group. Or I create the sub-management groups in here. Keep in mind that if you create management groups, you test something, and then you want to delete the management group, you need to clean it up first. So you need to remove the subscriptions from here. And even then, when it's removed, you can check that with Azure CLI. Even if it's removed, this interface, in my experience, actually shows you that it still exists. So you need to log out from the portal, log back in, because it's so heavily cached that you cannot get rid of that, and you cannot configure anything else unless it's gone. Moving on to Azure Blueprints. This is even simpler in a way, but there's a nice trick here. So I've got one blueprint created, and I need to right-click this one to go to Edit. There's not too many places in Azure Portal where you actually need to right-click stuff. This is one of those. So I can only set the name, I cannot change that later on. And the location will be Ignite Test. This is the management group that I had. And in here, I've added one artifact, which is a policy. I could add roles, I could add different settings, but I choose to use policies in here. So allowed locations, and this only allows a set value. What's the value? We set the value when we assign the definition. So going back here, if I assign the blueprint, this is where it will ask me, what would be the location that you would like to use? And for me, since it's just a text field, I actually need to look it up that it won't be West US 2. Do I want to lock the resources or not? So by default, none of the resources are locked. But when I enable the blueprint, I can choose to lock the resources so that if something does not fit in here, we'll simply lock those and we can modify those. And that would mean that then we need to modify the blueprint if we want to change or modify something at a later date. So I've got the blueprint assigned now. I can see from here it's succeeded. And if I go and create a new virtual machine, let's go for Windows Server 2016. I really like this new interface because it's lightningly fast nowadays and it gives me a nice overview. This will be UCVM 2018. I hope nobody else is using this. And as the region, as the location, I am going with North Europe. We always laugh at this back at home because North Europe to us is Finland, of course. But North Europe for Azure is close to Dublin, and we don't think that's North Europe. And I'm selecting the size. I need to be UC admin, and I need to select the super secure password, foobar 121212 hash. Foobar 121212 hash. Don't worry, I won't put this online. Okay, I'm happy with this. Review and create. It's reviewing it now. There's something missing or something is invalid. Management. Let's go with this. Review again, please. Let's see if the validation goes through. Validation failed. Let's have a look. The allowed location failed. It's disallowed by policy. I said North Europe. That should be in Helsinki. But it's expecting West US 2, which I think I put in there, or West US, regardless. So I'm a global admin myself. I own the whole subscription. And what I'm actually getting now is disallowed by policy, and there's no skip or undo. I have to conform to the policy, even if I'm an admin myself. This is the whole reason we have blueprints and we have policies and we have management groups. That we can actually look after those guys who should know better on what they're actually doing, and they have the permissions to do it. The last thing that I'll quickly show you is in Azure Active Directory. When you start using management groups, you have to go to Azure Active Directory properties, and there's a setting here, global admin can manage Azure subscriptions and management groups, and this is a no by default. You need to switch this to on so that you get to start using management groups. Otherwise, even as an admin, it will say, oh, sorry, you don't have permission to do this. And the last thing is the Azure Advisor. You saw the screenshot already. There's not that much else to do here. You can configure certain settings, but typically what you're most interested in is the performance and security. And this automatically refreshes quite often. And for me, security of course complains that I'm not following the Security Center recommendations. So I can use the Azure policies and the policy assignments and initiatives to conform to these, but I can use Azure Advisor to actually understand, am I following any of the stuff that I should be following in terms of configuring the settings. Switching back, I'm starting to learn to use the buttons already. So, call to action, Azure governance in 3 easy steps. Deploy policies. You don't have to go with the management groups initially. If you are not sure how you want to set those, what kind of structure you want to have in place. Start with the existing templates. It's tempting to build your own, but it's really hard to keep track. What did we actually build again? Start with the location. Start with the allowed SKUs for VM. start with the allowed SKUs for SQL databases. Those are the easiest ones. And then apply management groups. When you know how the policies work, you see the compliance with those, you can move to management groups and you can map those policies that you created as part of the management groups because you know you're not breaking anything. Do use Azure Monitor to monitor what's happening in there. And finally, the fourth step, which is not shown here, but if you're feeling brave and you know how things are working out, start testing out Azure Blueprint. It's in preview now, but once you have the policies in place, once you have the management groups in place, the next logical step is to go to Azure Blueprints as well. Thank you. That is all that I have. Thank you for attending. I'll be here for any questions if you have. Thanks.